Hey everyone, it's been a while, but I have got something really cool to share with you. So let me see if I can wait for a couple minutes see if everyone's going to jump on or if everybody's going to catch the replay. And I'm going to start doing these regular so that... Hey Pedro, how are you? I have something exciting to talk about this evening. So thank you for joining me. Hey Rain, how are you? I can't remember if it's Rain or Raina, and I don't want to mess it up, so let me know. How is everyone? I'm going to talk to you about something really interesting tonight. How bad do you want it? So when I ask how bad do you want something, I know you're thinking, oh, I want it really bad. But when you really stop and ask yourself how bad do you want it, this is going to be just a personal example that I'm going to show you guys or tell you guys about to explain when I say how bad do you want it. When I was growing up, the people behind me, behind where we lived, had a matching set of 2 Great Danes. Now understand, I was like 9 years old, 9 years old at the time. So like, I thought they were the most beautiful dogs on earth. Now understand, I was a short, skinny, tiny little kid. And they towered above me, like literally towered. And I thought they were the most beautiful dogs on earth, like for real. And I knew in my mind that one day I was going to own a Great Dane, at least one. I wanted to. And so I knew I was going to do that. And I made it my goal to do that. Okay, well, time came along, and about 20 years ago, a guy was being shipped overseas, and he couldn't take his Great Dane with him, and he had a beautiful little girl, Harlequin, and she was just absolutely gorgeous, perfectly trained and everything, and I wanted her so bad. But where I was living at the time, we couldn't take her. And I wanted her. I mean, I was willing to hide the dog, literally, but it's kind of hard to hide a Great Dane. But I was willing to hide her in order to have her, and I couldn't. So I was like, okay, fine. I'm still not giving up on the dream. So, and at that time, I was about 20 something years old, 26, 27 years old. And I still hadn't given up on my dream. And that's a long time to have a dream and not get it fulfilled. But my dad was not going to get a Great Dane. He was not going to do that. So, okay, I'm still waiting. Okay, so fast forward a few years. And about 6 years ago, I got really sick. I got fibromyalgia. I got lupus, I got cancer, and I was thinking, if I'm going to do something with the dreams that I have, I better do them now, because I don't, honestly, it had never occurred to me, really and truly. I had had asthma my whole life with pneumonia, and it never really occurred to me that I wasn't going to make it through all these things. And I was thinking, oh my goodness, shock, I'm getting old. So like older. Okay, let's just go with older. So I'm thinking, okay, I better like get on my dreams. So one of the things I was determined I was going to get was a Great Dane. And everybody was like, no, they're too big. They eat too much. They're hard to train. They're hard to walk. Hey, John, I know, I'm back, finally doing my live again. But I was like, okay, I'm getting the Great Dane anyway, whether anybody wants me to or not. That's just the end of the story. So I was like, I'm sorry, y'all. I have to keep swallowing and drinking. But anyway, so I was like, okay, well, at the time, my husband at the time, put a stipulation on it that said, you can't have something that you don't know everything about. Well, there's no way you can know everything about something. So I was like, okay, hey, Nancy. So I was like, okay, so what exactly do I have to know to get a Great Dane? And he said, you have to know how much they eat. You have to know about taking care of them. You know, pretty much every basic that you can know. And you have to research it for at least a year before we could even think about getting one. And so I was like, okay, I was 26 when I got offered the Great Dane and couldn't get one. And here I was in my 40s, well into my 40s. I was like, okay, all right. I'm setting my goal for myself 1 year. So I started researching. Every waking minute, I would if I wasn't at work, if I wasn't doing something important, I was in my downtime. Now, in my downtime, I was literally really researching. And I had a notebook that I researched and wrote notes. I knew what kind of training they had to have. I knew what would be the best kinds of food for them. I really researched about owning that kind of a dog. Okay? So the end of that year came, and I said, all right, I know basically about taking care of this kind of dog. And now I've waited for 40-something years. I'm going to get the dog. So I'm researching prices. I'm researching all sorts of stuff. And I'm thinking, my God, to get a really good one, they're really super expensive. Because you want a good, healthy bloodline. Okay? So good, healthy bloodline. I'm looking. I'm really searching. And I'm really... Now, think about the goals here. I've not only had this goal for 40-something years, I've also... Hey, Bernard. Hey, Riza. So I've also had to research for at least a year in order to do this. Okay, so I'm really doing it. And I am setting aside money like you would not believe to get this dog. And I finally find a dog that is close to me. And I'm looking at this dog online, and this breeder's got several of them. And I'm like, okay, Garrett and I are just going to hop in the truck and go and look at them. And of course I told everybody, that what we were doing. And I went to look. And I was like, oh man, I can't. I got to have one. Well, the little girl that we had researched and looked at online, we got there, and in the back of the kennel was this poor little beat up, she's getting the girl out to show us. And of course she's healthy and bouncing all over the place. And I'm like, hey, Garrett, do you see that in the back? In the back, in this cowering tiny corner is this soaking wet little sopping little black puppy that is like half the size of the rest of them. And I was like, Garrett, do you see that? I says, can we just look at that one? And she's like, oh no, that one's not, that's not one we're going to keep. That one we're putting down. Hey, Jessica Hubbard. So she's like, we're going to put that one down. And I said, why? And she's like, he's not as big as the rest. So we're just going to put him down. Okay. So, which also goes to show that I should have been really conscious of breeders, because I didn't really know anything about breeders. I knew about the dog, but I didn't know about breeders. So, yeah, they were going to put him down. I was like, oh my gosh. I was totally freaking out. And I'm like, he's just so tiny. And she goes, yeah, he's just not the right size. I was like, oh my God. Okay. So I said, do me a favor. I've got to talk to the rest of my family about this. Don't put him down. Well, she said, you have till tomorrow to discuss this. And I was like, okay. Because, it was Wednesday, and I guess she was going to do it before the weekend or something, whatever. There was a time limit on it, or maybe she was just trying to force me into a sale. So, I was like, okay. So I go home. We took several pictures of him. We took several pictures of the girl, and we took him home. And on the way, we hadn't even made it half a mile down her road. And Garrett goes, Mom, I got to have that dog. I got to have that dog. And I said, do what? They were, really? Oh my God. Yeah, see? I love them. And they're just, Strider, once I got him away, like we went back and literally bought him, of course. And because all the rest of them were good and big and healthy, and she wasn't going to do anything with those. And he just had our heart. Like, he just had my little, like, literally, he just was my best buddy. So, like, we hadn't even made it half a mile down the road, and Garrett was like, Mom, we got to have that dog. And I was like, yeah, but we got to convince everybody else in the family to have that dog. Which was not an easy convincing, by the way. And then we bring him home and find out that he's got a lot of health issues. But once we got him away from the kennel, like, he blossomed and he grew and he grew. And like, I'm not even kidding you when I tell you that his mom was American and his dad was full English. So he was a pretty big boy because his dad was massive. He was a Harlequin, and when she pulled him out and let us look at him, he was huge. Like, he weighed like 190 because it was all the man could do to hold on to him, which means they used him for breeding and not for training. So anyway, we got Strider. We fed him the best of foods, you know, and I always took care of him. He was always, you know, up on his shots and health and everything. And all of the health issues that he had as a puppy, we got rid of. Like, literally, he came to us and his lungs were full of nodules. And the vet just looked at me and he's like, you know, because we're good friends with our vet. He just looked at me and he hugged me and he was like, please tell me you didn't pay cash for this dog or money at all. And I was like, I had to. I said, because we were saving his life. And he's like, I don't know if he'll live. Like, I really don't know if he'll live. And I was like, okay, well, we're going to do our best and he's going to live. That's just it. We're not going to have any excuses. He's going to. So we had this dog, and for 4 years and 3 months, he had an amazing life. He just passed away. Sorry. He just passed away this last week. And it literally, it tore my heart out. It really tore my heart out for him to be gone. And he died literally in my arms. Like, he would not, I didn't get up the whole night. The whole night I sat with him. And the vet had already said there was nothing more that they could do. I had tried everything I possibly could. Homeopathic, all of the vet's treatments, all of the chemo, everything I could. So I knew, and I didn't want him to suffer. And it was just the time. And I can't even hardly talk about it. But what the point of this live is to say that even after I had got Strider, even with all of the knowledge that I had accrued before I went and got him, I made mistakes because I didn't always know exactly what to do. Like, seriously, I wanted to take him on a plane and didn't even know how to go about it. I mean, there's all these sorts of things. I mean, we took him to the beach and it was just like all of these things that are firsts. And sometimes you make mistakes. Sometimes you don't always do it correctly. But the goal that I had to get Strider had literally been for well over 40 years. So if you have a goal, if you are wanting to do something, make it your priority. Because even though I knew all along I was going to have a Great Dane, I knew from the time I was 8 years old that I was going to have one. Literally, I knew it. circumstances forced me to wait a long time, but the goal was met, and I'm not giving up. I will have another one. He convinced me that they are like the best dog ever. Like, for real, I love those dogs. They're so gentle and kind and good, and just they're just their whole personality. He would literally meet me at the door, tearing the blind apart with his nose and beating on the door with his paws. And when I would come through the door, he would practically knock me down because he would stick his head in my stomach and take one paw and wrap it around behind my knees. And it didn't matter where I went, he was right there. He was with me the whole time. I have videos of where I would go in to take a shower or a bath, and literally he would be tearing the door down, trying to get in with his paw, and he would be crying outside the door. So it was kind of like having a child again, but it was like, that's how much love there was. So any goal worth doing, any goal worth having is never one you should give up. Never. You should strive your hardest. And even if you think you're completely educated on a subject, you will never be completely educated on a subject, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't go for it. Doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. You should go ahead, and you should definitely put forth the effort, because it can turn into the biggest blessing you'll ever have. And literally, my pup was like the best blessing one of the best blessings that I've ever had. I would not trade the time with him for 1 second. You know, I made all the mistakes. I let him up on my bed. I let him on my furniture. I wound up taking a shower with the shower curtain shut and leaving the doors open, because if I didn't, he would tear down the door, and he would still come and stick his head in the shower curtain, just like to make sure that I was okay. So literally, if you have a goal, do it. Don't let not having the knowledge stop you. Yes, you can educate yourself, and yes, you can do better, but my pup taught me so much. And it's always going to be worth it. It doesn't matter if it's getting your dream dog, or if it's getting your dream job, or your dream car, or whatever. Go ahead and do it, and go about it, because every day time is marching forward. It's not lagging behind. And you can't buy back any time. You can't buy back any days. You just can't. And it's totally worth it. There is never a minute that it's not worth it. Because if you have that goal, and you have that dream, and you have that desire, then there is something in you that says this should be accomplished. This needs to be. So always keep doing it. Hey, Samantha. And I'm just letting you guys know that it's totally worth it. And I love you guys, and have a good evening. And I'm back. I'm still having some issues with my throat, so I go Monday to a specialist, but I'm just letting you guys know that this will become a regular thing again for me. And I love you. Hugs and kisses to everyone, and I hope you have a great evening. Bye.